And I would pray every night. Man, I'd pray the same prayer. God, please get me out of here. Get me out of here. I promise God everything under the sun. If you just get me out of here. Well, I was lucky. My dad decided to let me live with my oldest brother, Bob. Bob, by now, was in the Marine Corps. He was stationed in Cherry Point, North Carolina. Bob told Dad, he said, I can go get Joe because we have a home. We have a place for him to live. But I've got to have legal custody of him or I can't go get him. They went on base. They used the military law firm on base, and the provost marshal drew up legal transfer of custody papers from my dad to Bob. Dad signed them in front of a judge, giving Bob custody of me. Then Dad gave Bob the money to come to Okeechobee to get me. Bob showed up down there one day in his dress blue Marine uniform. He went in there to see Mr. Salt. They brought me up there to the office, and of course, I thought, boy, I'm fixing to get beat again. I've done something, I don't know what, but they're fixing to beat me for something. But instead, they took me to Salt's office. Well, then I knew something wasn't right. I walked in the door, and there stood my brother. Mr. Salt told my brother, he said, you can visit with Joe for a few minutes. I'm going to let you visit with him for a few minutes, but I can't let him leave here with you. He handed Bob back those papers that Bob had given him before I got in that room. And he says, these papers are not legally standing in this state. I don't have the authority to turn him loose into your custody. And Mr. Salt told my brother, he said, I don't think so. Bob made a long distance call to Cherry Point. He told the colonel, he said, I'm down here in Okeechobee. He looked at Mr. Salt and he said, Lieutenant Colonel so-and-so would like to speak to you. Told him what his name was. Mr. Salt reached and got the phone from him. He got quiet. He wasn't saying anything. He was just listening. All of a sudden, he scares the crap out of Bob and I both. He slams the phone down. And he looked at Bob and he said, you get your brother and you get the hell off this property now. Get out of here. I don't want you here 30 seconds from now. Go. Now. I didn't go back to get nothing that belonged to me, nothing. We went straight out the front door, got in the car, and left. As soon as we got out that entrance to there, I told Bob, I said, don't you stop this car till we get out of the state of Florida. Don't even think it. And give me a cigarette. We didn't go, I bet you, I don't know, maybe 50 miles or so from Okeechobee going north. Bob stopped at this little store, I guess it was. Come back out, he got in the car and he had sandwich meat, loaf of bread, a couple of Cokes, and a 6-pack of Budweiser beer. I never will forget it. I fixed him a sandwich, fixed me a sandwich. He said, open me up one of them beers. So I opened him up one. And now I'm only 14 years old. I opened me up one of them. Well, that was the worst thing I could do, really, because from that day on, I started drinking. From that day on, I started drinking. And I drank for the rest of my life till I know I must have been 40, 45 years old. But I mean, I drank constantly, and I was always trying to forget about Okeechobee. Always.